right, all right. Shalom, shalom, shalom. I think we might have made it here. I'm gonna check to make sure that we are live. It looks like it may be buffering too a little bit, but we'll see what happens in that. So far, it looks like it's still kind of buffering, but hopefully that things will go as planned. In that, I'm gonna go over to the room. Let me bring this down. Okay, let's go here. So good to. All right, all right, all right. Okay, okay. Looks like we're going to visit the room here. Give a shout out to those who are with us. Oh, glory to the Most High Yah. All right. Okay, okay. All right, all right. We made it. On last week, of course, we had some difficulties, but I think we're back now for a while anyway. We'll see how things begin to go in that. Like I say, it seemed like it was when I was checking on it. May have been buffering a little bit, but we'll see how eventually it'll come through in that. So we're going to get this out. We're going to, of course, have two sessions of this. We're talking about the transformation of being transformed, something that we need to do, especially when we come into the covenant with the Father. Disrespect and respect is like the pillars of the community, and it's sometimes I think it has to be passed down, of course. And I know that a lot of times what we see today is definitely getting. I mean, it's not everywhere. Sometimes you say, "Oh, it's not a all like everybody or everyone or everything," but it has decreased. Of course, I have a little bit more years to look in to see how it's decreased, and more than what you gentlemen may have. But it is something that it really we definitely need to focus on, and we need to tell and teach our children and the ones around us how to honor and how to respect one another. That's what it's really do in this day and time, because if we there are things that we'll get into that we wouldn't, if we really respected one another, that you wouldn't do, you wouldn't say. So we'll deal with some things of intentionally disrespect, and then the unintentionally. It's always really when you get into different situations, someone can always do something by mistake, not knowingly, in that. We also would deal with maybe the culture of it. You have several cultures that when we come together and begin to learn the Torah, then that's a whole. So you sometimes you have this culture, that culture, and then when you come together, then you have a mixture, and then you're trying to learn where you are at. So sometimes we'll see that, and we'll see what's going on there. Who is that there? Is it going? Can you see me?
Yes, sir. I'm just talking about YouTube.
Oh, okay, okay, all right. So yeah, there's so we was dealing with that, and being considerate, and uh, the lack of is I guess is where I want to go. The controversy between those things, and the action, our behavior. So we have to refine that when we come together. We have to refine that, and we cannot lose this, because sometimes that same disrespect it won't honor you will honor the Father in a disrespectful way. And one of the ways is He tell us how to serve Him, and then we feel like, okay, uh, I know you're telling us how to serve, but I think this might be the best way to serve you in that. So we can't be disrespectful, of course, to him. And it definitely starts in the home. All of those things starts in the home, and so we want to continue to build on that. As we to see what's happening in that. So I'm grateful for that, and I guess they saying it's buffering in there again. I don't know about that, other than that they don't want to get the respect out there. So I don't know in that. Let me see. I guess we're about 5 minutes in. See what we're doing. So,
Yes, sir. It's about every couple of seconds.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, maybe it'll get through there. I'm pulling it up also now. Taking a look. So we'll see how it roll. Yeah, I just see it. That I don't know. That I don't know. So well, um, we're gonna keep going though. We're gonna keep going because of that. So after a while, it may just cut off altogether. So those of you that's in the room, just stay encouraged. In that, I think this is like the second week. Things have been happening, but we can't. We definitely got to get this out to a point anyway. So to try to see how we can do that. And so we want to recognize when I was thinking about culture, I was looking at different cultures have one of the things that I was when I started looking things up, I did not know until I looked it up today when I was looking up different uh, ideas, and I'm one like be on time, be on time. Well, there's some cultures that they are not geared to being on time. So it's like everybody when everybody gets there, of course you have a time, but it's like when everybody gets there, then we can start doing what we need to do. And if I was there, I'd be looking at that as, oh man, it can't be on time. Well, that's disrespectful. But with them, that is not disrespectful, in that sense. So that just was on the top of my head there, that there can be different ways that we may look at it. Now, from I guess from assembly to assembly, uh, uh, from family to family or wherever you may be, it could be different according to how you are being taught. I know that some things when I was coming up, of course, I guess that's the old story. You wouldn't say some things that they say today to say teachers or, just people in general, And so if we don't teach the next generation that, because I done went through several generations here, we don't teach the next generation, then that starts to get lost. But we can always transform our disrespect into respect. And I think that's a good place to be, a good place to grow, and especially among one another. And I think we lose that. We lose it, really, really lose it. So sometimes in our disrespect can be in our tone, the way we talk, our body language. So we have to be really careful. And I guess that's something that when even I was looking at it, you have to be really careful in that uh, how we are, we could be disrespectful to others as well. And so then our scriptures, we'll maybe dive into some of those scriptures also tell us how we need to act, how we need to walk, should I say. I use the word act, but maybe that's the problem. We are actors instead of being a part of our life. It needs to be a part of our life. And this is one thing that really goes into other things because it will refine, being respectful will refine your self-control. It will refine your words. It will refine your actions. And so it begins to run over to other things. But we are desiring that it would become a habit in our life. We need it to become a habit in our life for sure, in that. So, and then honoring one another, right? And that's something that is real, uh, the heart of the Father is that we honor one another. And of course, it even starts by saying, honor your mother and your father. So it already begins. And it's in the 10 words as well, right? Honor your father and your mother. So it starts already there. And then we're teaching others to do that as well. So honor has always been there. It's in there. And I think we say it every Shabbat, honor your father and your mother. So that is pleasing, right? Never being disrespectful to your parents is the will of the Father. It never will be, and it never is. So the thing is, am I being disrespectful? You know, and how did that look like? Now, sometimes from like I mentioned again, maybe from family to family it could look different, but it can be refined when we all come together. We come together for the fellowship that we need, the care that we need for one another, and all of that, and it can be refined. But we'll talk about maybe some things that's sort of according to where you live at, and that's what I was saying. In different countries, they might say no, that would be disrespect. So it is a possibility from where you may listen to this or what country that I may be missing it from your country. But wherever we find ourselves, what's the most important is what does the Father say about that? And the being respectful can be transformed no matter what country I might be in or where I'm sitting at. It can be transformed. That's my point there. It could be transformed, and then I can learn those things. So it'll be in the category of unintentionally, but once I find out that that's disrespectful, should I say, then I can begin to change that, in that. So being respectful is always lifting up. That's one thing we want to do. Being respectful is always building up. Being respectful is always powering up. All of those things are in there. And I know we had discussed some things because of the difficulties we was having on last week as well, in that, and just honoring. And that's in Exodus chapter 20, by the way, verse 12, when it talks about honor your father and your mother, and that your days, you will have extended days when you honor, right? And that's what I'm trying to say there. We could use the same word of respect as honor in that, right? Being respectful, right? That's what the Father wants us to give just from the start in that. Once you turn that around, then it becomes twisted. It becomes twisted. So you can do that for a time. I think we all teaching again our children how to do that. But I see a lot today, and I'm sure that you gentlemen will see a lot today too as well. But that's just a little light things that kind of get those of you that are here. Appreciate y'all, and hopefully I don't know if it's still going, but to bear with us on that, and we'll see what happens. All right. So Jedediah, if you wanted to just jump in here and uh, whatever you have on your heart there, and we can just bounce off of you, and we'll go from there. We'll see what happens, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Uh, Shalom, Elder,
Shalom.
and glory to the King. Uh, this what you said was about the things we see today. The things we do see today is just it's crazy.
Mm.
I was just talking to someone about this. I believe it was one of my children, or it was probably another brother, and well before I came into covenant, as a youngster, I used to use like really foul language,
Mm.
but I didn't use that language around adults,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
And I remember I had to do some training at the high school, and me being a school teacher, I'm walking around high school students and they just cursing, and as if I wasn't even there, as they didn't care. And I remember going to a high school football game a couple of years ago, and it was the same thing. I literally have these youngsters sitting around me, and they're cursing. And I just thought to myself, when I was younger, I would have never did that. I would have never used that type of language around uh, around adults, no matter if I knew them or not. I would have kept that more to myself or with my friends. And today, you don't see a lot of respect for those who are older. You know, and I just remember growing up. I remember getting popped in the mouth for not respecting people. You know,
Right.
I remember it
Uh,
was my uncle. He was my uncle in law, and I called him by his name. And my mother, she popped me like, "No, that's your uncle. Uncle such and such."
mhm. Mhm.
And ever since that day, I called him Uncle such and such. And because that's what it takes. And you said about teaching our youngsters. It don't always take physical. It can also be a teaching moment where we can actually talk to our children and let them know like that's not how we do things. There are certain ways that we operate as far as being around adults and being respectful. You
Mhm.
know, uh, and I guess just where I'm coming from and where I grew up, I just remember seeing certain people do certain things. You have like a group of people. They may be sitting around smoking or drinking and all that, and they're younger, and they may even be adults. But when someone much older walk around and they want to put it away,
Mhm.
you know, they
Mhm.
don't
Mhm.
they don't want them to see that. And it's just certain like even with that, that still was some type of respect that you had for older people.
Mhm.
And today, it's not as much. Respect and manners. Both of those two go together.
Mhm.
You know, I was talking to my coworker about this as well, and she was just like, when we give our students something, it's like they don't say thank you,
Wow. Mm.
and it's rare. It's almost like it's rare. And these are younger children, but still, I do remember being at that age. Like, if
Yeah.
someone give
Yeah.
you something, you just say thank you.
Right. Right.
Uh, and so when I came up with a system, when someone is respectful and they say thank you, I will reward them, for saying thank you or using
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
manners,
Mhm.
saying excuse me, and those type of things should be taught within the school. And then I come into covenant, and it's like I see the same thing, and I'm
Mhm.
just like, if there should
Yeah.
be any respect, it should be here. This is what a respect should be, not just for elders, but for each other,
Mhm.
and I'm just, it breaks my heart every time I see it. Breaks my heart when I see younger people, whether they my age or a little older, disrespecting elders. And I
Mhm.
have grown to like really dislike that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
as a people, we have to do better with that. And the scriptures even talk about those things, especially when I think it's First Timothy 5, I believe, when it talks about giving the elders double honor,
Yes.
you
Uh-huh.
know. So that's something that's obviously part of our culture. So here we are, people not embracing the full totality of our culture. That the respect towards elders and people, who are older than us is very important because that's where we're getting, all the goodness from. You
Mhm.
know, those who are worthy to lead and to teach. we want to respect them because the Most High is using them to give us the things that we need. So the honor and the respect should definitely be within the nation. If it's not, I- obviously, it's not going to be um, outside the covenant. And it's there in certain places, but it should be with us at least.
Yes, yes,
Uh, and I know the Messiah, and I'm paraphrasing here, said that they would know who you are basically by how you treat each other.
yes. That's
So if
right.
I'm cursing my elder out, elder, it don't have to be mine.
Yes,
It could be
right.
an elder. If I'm cursing them out, then who do the people who are not in covenant, who do they think I am?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because those two things don't go together. And I do like what you said about the cultural aspect of it, because I remember when I went to Korea, over here in America, it's considered to be respectful when you look people in the eye. In
Yes,
Korea, it's the
yes. Uh huh.
opposite.
Right,
you know
right. Yeah.
and so that took me some time to get used to. It's like i'm I'm used to trying to at least attempting to look people in the eye,
Mm-hmm.
but over there in that nation, that's considered disrespect.
Right,
So
right.
if I always try to figure out, like, how would that work. If this person's a Hebrew, I'm a Hebrew, I'm from America, you from Korea, and we come together and we talking, what is that going to look like?
Oh, that's
Because
good. Uh huh.
we want to respect each other. you
Mm-hmm.
know but it is definitely a cultural thing, because some people may be brung up a certain way, and in a different household, in different environments, and
Yeah.
those things that we will call respect may be different, may differ from other people. And it's a learning process when you're being around certain people, um no matter where you at. Even in the military, they
Mm-hmm.
teach you,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you have to know what's respectful or not, or else,
Oh yeah.
you're gonna be on the red carpet a lot. So it's being respectful is definitely a learning process. And even when you're trying not to be disrespectful to someone, it can happen. But those things can be fixed.
Absolutely. I think that was good. We warming up pretty good to the things of what we want to get into in that. Well, Yehoshua, you want to come up and maybe say something that's even on your heart about disrespect in that. So I think it's going to be good. It's good. It's good.
Praise Yah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Yes, sir. It will be good.
I
Um.
think we lost my brother there.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm here.
Here comes.
Well.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, there you go. Yes, I think if we hit the camera button, it goes black.
Yeah.
Um. So, I mean, I think Jedediah touched just about every aspect. From personal opinions of respect to the way we were raised, and there are so many different areas. I have no idea how long you're going to want to talk about this. There are so many different
Oh yeah.
things here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it's tough. It really is. Even to get started, I got
Yeah.
so much here.
Um, I think I'll start similarly. Like my standard of respect, I say I'm not sure how typical it is, but I grew up in a military family. So there were lots of things similarly to what Jedediah was saying that if you show disrespect, you would be punished for. So there
Hmm.
were lots of common areas for respect when I was growing up. And I guess really at its core, it came down to the fact of everyone was worthy of some form of honor, from someone
Hmm.
wearing the most fanciest of clothes to someone who barely has anything on. And I mean that in the sense of poverty. And
Hmm. Hmm.
that's just the way I was raised. And if you jest or if you had made fun of someone in a disrespectful way, you would have been punished, similar to what Jedediah was saying about the pop in the mouth. I also had a similar situation like that. I'll never forget it. I was on the back porch and I disrespected my dad, and next thing you know, the consequences came quick. I couldn't even see him coming.
Right.
But it taught me something, and it was there was a lot there. And over this time, I've started to realize that how respect for me is directly connected to status, and
Mm-hmm.
whether someone's of a high stature or, and by high I'm speaking of an American society, um because that's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain things that we consider, like the CEOs, the executives, and then you've got everybody that would then work for individuals such as them. So then you've got, your direct managers, and you've got police officers, and then, like I said, with the military aspect, I've seen, colonels and generals. And even though I don't directly, I worked on Fort Hood for a military base for a while. It's got a new name now. But I worked on the military base, and I studied all the ranks so that I would respect every individual that came in there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether, they were just a first lieutenant all the way up to, the highest one I could ever see. Even privates.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot that I learned being in that culture. Now, not everybody takes it as serious as they should, but when the pressure's on, it definitely is taken seriously. And the respect is, it's interesting to be around. If you've ever seen, people stop to salute one another,
Mm-hmm.
that's a respect thing. And then there's certain times in the day where certain cadence are played, and people stop their life to show respect in those areas. So I definitely was used to seeing that all the time. Nor I didn't really know all of it, but I did know that if you didn't honor what was being done at that moment, it would be something dishonorable.
Mm-hmm.
So just recognizing how all these different statuses are interconnected really did a lot for me. And then, unfortunately, as I got older, rebellion came upon me, and when I decided to rebel, it lowered my reverence for respect. Of course, you still did it, but like similarly to what Maury was saying earlier, you knew when and where and how to be respectful, but my heart wasn't right. And that was the
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Mm-hmm.
My heart needed to actually make a direct connection to say that this respect is something I'm being genuine about. And because of all the trouble I got in, there are plenty of times, everybody knows if you're looking out your window at those blue and red lights, you better be on your best behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that became something that I've experienced. And even showing respect in those situations has really been a way to turn something that was going to be much worse around, simply because the police officer would say something similarly to what Jedediah had said, like, your respect was different. I've been disrespected all day long. So why
Mm-hmm.
was it that now someone decided to show me respect? And in that case, it can grant favor. So I don't know. Like I said earlier, it's a lot for me in recognizing someone's status, and then how if you fail to recognize those status, or I guess I can finish about turning around. Well, what really did it for me was coming into covenant with the Father and realizing there is a greater than and I don't mean that in a way to put anybody down. But if we just go through our scriptures, it'll show us plenty of times there's a such thing as greater than, and it's dealing with that status, not to put someone down, but that to show you that you have someone to look up to. You have
Mm-hmm.
an example. You have someone to follow. You have someone to imitate. I remember when I was reading the scriptures, Joseph said in Genesis 39 that in this house, no one's greater than me. He's speaking of himself as a servant. He's like, I got everything under control. But you, speaking of Potiphar's wife, are off limits,
Mm-hmm.
So there were things that even though he had such a great status in the house, he also handled it with respect. And even the Messiah talked about himself. He says being greater than Solomon, in the sense that people who saw Solomon's greatness would be even more confounded by his wisdom. So, so in that, and I think he even said that Yochanan, John the Baptist, as they call him, was the great one of the greatest men who's ever lived.
Mm-hmm.
So there are so many different things that I think if we recognize someone's status, it'll also help us to adjust. Because when we don't, that's when we end up failing, and the opportunity to be respectful first, and then we bring in disrespect. So as Jedediah brought up earlier, even about the elders, I think that having elders in a community that are those honorable, Torah obedient, they're the walkers and the talkers, as we say.
Mm-hmm.
Those people set the standard for the rest of the community. That's why they're so important. And I remember talking with you about that previously, that with having an example of respect in your community, you then you learn how to navigate the rest of the tribe. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because if my leadership is cussing people out, now that gives me the permission to cuss people out. But if my leadership is saying respectful things and greeting people with honor and humbling himself before other men, then that also sets an example for me. And that's really I guess a lot of what's going on. And I'd say the other thing is the measure of what is my threshold for respect. Because I've been very sensitive in my life when it came down to me feeling disrespected. And there's been times where, because I had such a weak threshold for respect, and I didn't have, a stronger character and a stronger tolerance for disrespect or being dishonored, it brought shame upon me, and I
Mm-hmm.
ended up paying a price. Even though what it was right for me to be offended, the measure in which I was offended, um, it kind of made it worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say one of the other things I wanted to say is that with respect, you have with you have respect in relationship. What I've learned is that when somebody lets you, when two people respect one another, what they've done is they've put you inside of their boundary. And what that really did for me when I learned that is that they now have given you permission or access to them, but it still has to go under their authority. And I think sometimes we get out of line when we are under someone's authority, or we're in someone's threshold. I can say not threshold, boundary, for this person has deserved respect in this place. For
Mm-hmm.
instance, like an assembly, like the teacher of the assembly. If you dishonor the teacher of the assembly in the assembly, that what higher offense could you do? This is the place where that individual is an overseer, or in some way the chief individual with the authority to bring about decisions in that community. And I've seen it time and time again, and stumbled even myself to not understand that when you're in someone else's authority, it is a privilege. And if you disrespect that person or disrespect that area, the consequences are they're warranted. And I think sometimes we can get upset, you know, when we really need to understand where the offense originated. But
Mm-hmm.
those are just some of the things that were on my mind. And it definitely, like I said, this one is really broad for me. But yeah, I'd say, if I just say a last comment is, there are instances where disrespect is unintentional as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there, we definitely gonna have a maybe an opportunity as we build on this to grow. I don't know. I just checked in on them here. It looks like it somehow is just stuck there in YouTube. If not there at all, I don't know. But
I saw
I
that as
will.
well.
Yeah, I will upload it again, uh, if it doesn't go through. So unfortunately, that part's out of my control. in that, but but we're going to still roll on in that. So that's what we're going to do. So all right, we're going to open up just a couple of things. We won't be long tonight, but because we're going to have two in this. So, but one of the things I wanted to do was disrespect is really, really something that you cannot function if you don't have respect for one another, right? So it's going to be hard. It's really going to be difficult to uh, have a relationship. How those things to fall through in that, right? So I think is your mic on, my brother, Yehoshua. So it'll be okay. All right. It'll be hard to follow through in relationship if you don't do it. The thing is this affects everything around you, right? It affects everything around you. And when people like you guys had said some of the things, when people are not practicing it, is very, very difficult. It's very difficult in that. And I think you said a key too is the rebellion part of that. So I guess to tap that, what is a why? Well, we just kind of hitting at it. We're not saying we know everything. We just trying to bring it some things to light. But why is uh, why do we don't want to respect one another? What are some things that you think it is? Why is it that we don't want to respect one another? What causes that? And that's what when you say rebellion, I know that's part of it, but I want to kind of open it up to the fact that why is that though? Why would you not want to respect someone? What would cause you not to respect someone? Because it's easy. That's one of the easiest things to do. And I'm going to tell you something else. If everybody would do that, it would cut out a lot, right? If we could go back to that once again, it would cut out a lot. And I'm not talking about it can't be one sided either, right? It has to go both ways no matter what status you are, no matter what, right? And I think you made the military situation and the authority and how that runs, right? The authority of that. And each level it comes with respect. So each level that you have, yes, that comes with respect too. But why is it that we cannot, what some ideas that you guys think that we cannot respect another person, or why some people don't in that? What are some things that you think that uh, may occur? How you think that those things happen?
I think for some people it may be they want to feel like they're in control,
Hmm.
you know.
Okay. Okay.
So
Good.
it's like rebellion will come because that's
Mm-hmm.
just what it is. As far as what you're talking about, let's say like in the military, because that's why thing that I know either whether it's from my household or the military. So that's what I know. Um, as far as the respect thing, and then also coming into covenant, and it's just like if a commander tells you not to do something, and you purposely go do what the commander told you not to do, you became that's a rebellious spirit, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's the same thing that growing up when I was in the home, I did the same thing. My parents tell me not to do something, I'm gonna go do exactly what they told me not to do,
Uh-huh.
and I love my parents, but I never showed that I loved them because I went against what they told me to do. Because if
Mm.
I really did love them, I would have did exactly what they told me to do.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
good.
I believe it's like a control thing. You want to feel like you in control. You in control of your life. I have this person that's over me. Um, whether it's boss, whether it's an elder in the community, commander, or whatever it is, parent, I need to feel like I'm in control. And the only way I can feel like I'm in control if I do exactly what they tell me not to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all situational as well.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I just think that that is one of the reasons like why we will rebel, you know. And I think that that just goes so deep of having that rebellious spirit is always going to lead you down the wrong path.
Mm-hmm.
How many
Mm-hmm.
people who are in prison right now wishing that they would have listened to their parents,
Right.
or
Yeah, that's true.
they would listen to someone who told them to not do that. Um, people who are in the grave right now no longer walking this earth because they decided to not listen to the authority over them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that happens a lot. So I think that's the reason, like why do I want to be disrespectful and I want to go against the grain
Mm-hmm.
because I want to be in control.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just one of the factors. And there's so many other factors, but that's just the one that I see and the one that I deal with personally.
Right. Well, that's yeah. That is really a good. That's outstanding. Some of the thought process that you had there, and working those things out. That's some top of the line stuff, and the fact that we must. Before I turn it over, we must the being respectful is not a being what I want how I want to put it. We have to be respectful. So when you come into covenant, it's not an option. A lot of things that we do sometimes for the Father, we feel like it's just optional. But it will not. You cannot function well if in the covenant if you're not respectful. Right? You're not going to be able to do it. So we are all at different levels of respect of what we have been taught, right? So when you come in, then that's one of the main things that you're gonna have to also learn. That's when you need a community to learn these things in order to be respectful in that. And I think people use the language they would in America they use the word cursing or whatever, and I like to call it foul language because there are those that believe that it's okay, right? So and we'll probably get more into that part of it. But truly, we have to understand. I'm gonna reiterate this: is in covenant. If you're not respectful, there is a problem. There's a problem with this walk, and you walking in Torah. There's a problem there, and it's respectful to one another. Maybe in part two we'll kind of build on. Some people on. Some people get more in the fact of their life or whatever. But we need to know that we always need to be respectful in every area, in every situation. That is a light, right, of the Mashiach. That's a light. That's a menorah that we have. Don't think of a light bulb. Think of the menorah that the Father has given us. We can see those things. It gave light, right? Even in the temple, it gives light. That way, the priest could make sure that they do their operations. It gives light. So respect gives light. It's powerful, right? It gives light, and it's going to be hard for us to survive without it, right? It's hard. I know it's there. And I think you said another thing is the parents when we started off, honor your mother and your father. You know what? That's where the problem comes in at, because somewhere down the line the parents was letting the children just talk to them any kind of way, do anything. And if you don't train that, if you don't constantly, even as adults, we constantly have to, we'll use the word check ourselves. If you constantly don't inspect your own self, then you'll do that. But we have to teach them that, so you have to teach them. I think you were saying you're a teacher. We had, top notch respect for teachers when I was coming up. You're always going to have that one. Again, I said it earlier at this beginning. When I say this, I can't say all, so remember that I'm not saying all, but we had top notch. It was Mr. This, that we would, if you heard somebody swinging on the teacher to hit them, that was very, very rare all across the United States anyway, right? That you always gonna have that, but it wasn't. It was to talk, even to talk back, even to tell them to shut up. I didn't heard, some little ones to tell their parents to shut up. You only said that once. But that'll get me in something else. I'm gonna get Yehoshua up here. I know he's ready to. I don't want to get too far off. We forget what the question is, huh? But you could just jump right in there, my brother.
Yes, sir. And yes, I don't think there's much to add to that. You're both 100%. Especially when it comes down to that different upbringing thing. That, like, I was raised with the titles. I know a lot of people think that that's disrespectful. I don't know where that came from.
Hmm.
Looks like I'm frozen up. Oh, it said
You good?
when I was raised, it's sir, ma'am, respectful. Certain ways of eye contact were respectful, and then certain ways of eye contact was disrespectful. You don't frown at people or glare. So there's a lot in that I like. I liked what you said. But to answer the question, um, which I guess I just deleted. Oh, there it is. Why is it that we do not respect one another? Oof. Well, what I was just saying, different forms of respect being taught at the home. There were people I've worked with that their parents, they referred to by the first name. That was strange for me. I don't, if I were to call my dad by his first name, that would really be a strange thing for me. Or what we call growing up is the friend zone. My parents were never in the friend zone. you know, so when it came down to communicating with them and talking with them, I know there's a lot of different ways people view respectful language or authority language. The sir, ma'am. Some of those things have roots that are not so kind. But there is a respectful way in the culture I grew up with. There, it wasn't oppressive. It was due. It was a
Hmm.
due
Hmm.
honor
Hmm.
to everyone who was in an authority that was above you, whether you knew them or not. I
Hmm.
say another thing was, and for the most part, 99% of 98% of people were grateful when myself, my brother, my sister would interact with strangers. They would always say, "Wow, your children are respectful."
Hmm.
Um,
Good. Good.
the other thing was having, I think sometimes disrespect. Why is it so hard to disrespect others? Because having in my minds, with this, like I said, I can speak from experience, and maybe this needs to be reworded in a different way because I am just saying this right now. Just saying from my own experience, I probably could word it a little bit more personal, but in
Hmm.
a vague way, it seems as if having no authority is a place of freedom. And similarly to what
Wow.
Jedediah
Wow.
was saying, sometimes when we have an authority figure, their control can cause rebellion because they want
Mm.
something out from you, but you want freedom from their control. And that sometimes causes that disrespect to come in the room.
Mm. Good.
Another
Good.
thing I've noticed is that trusting others, and I know this for a fact, it removes the temptation of doing the unknown. For instance, if you tell me don't do this, and you're an authority figure, similarly to what Jedediah was saying earlier about his commander, don't go out to this particular place at night. Well, now the side of disrespect, it just got some food, and now it's like, okay, well, if I don't have that control, then guess what? I'm gonna want to go to that place you just told me not to, and I may not even view it as disrespect because the temptation was so strong. that I'm going to just go do it. And then when the consequences come, here come the I told you so's, you know? And I think sometimes when we trust others, the unknown becomes less tantalizing because I trusted that what you had to say about it was true. You
Mm-hmm.
said, don't do this. It's not going to work out for you. And I have to submit to that. That is a form of respect. That is scary because I'm changing my mind just because this person has authority. That's something that I believe our culture thrived on. At one point it said, don't revile an Elohim. So we knew that there was an opportunity to hear from the Father, from our leadership, but obviously we cut that off real quick, right?
Yeah.
Another thing
Wow.
was
Good.
in why I believe we don't respect others is because humility, you need examples for it. And it's far and few in between from the music culture to the
Mm-hmm.
work
Mm-hmm.
culture to when men are around, when women are around. There are all different forms of respect. And I mean, everybody knows that. Like, let's just be honest. There's some things people only say because other people aren't around. So it takes humility, to really teach what you can and can't say in public. And I think that's a very touchy area because people say, I got free speech. Yes, you sure do. And when your free speech brings a division in your life and in your relationships, I'm pretty sure you would wish you would have second guessed what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that came to mind, I was listening to you, is there's this culture that it's very toxic culture, in my opinion, but it's this whole idea of these things are earned, not given. Well,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
right there can serve that can really tie your feet together on the top of an escalator, because when you have the opportunity to interact with others, you have no idea. I'm telling you, I've been humbled so many times to have dealt with people of authority, but because they were humble, I never knew there were someone of reputation. And it was only afterwards that when I learned that individual had an authority, that it was shocking to me to say, like, wow, this person has a high status and their interaction with me was humble. And that takes examples. And a lot of people, why do that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or because humility is weak. Oh no, you got to show you're strong. You got to take it. There's all so many bad examples, and we think bucking up against authority shows, I don't know, that I'm tough. I don't really know all the insights of that, but I've experienced it before. And even when I have rebelled in such a disrespectful way, the reason why I did it is it was just from pride, the lack of humility, just not knowing that I don't know. And that's a scary place to be. And that earned respect is such a just a wicked idea, in the sense that there are just people who have knowledge and experience and insight and so many good things that they could potentially share with you, but simply because you think they need to enter into your life in a way you agree. Yeah, that's a scary thing. Something else that happened, and I know I had to overcome this, is that sometimes disrespect comes in through the unknown. Unknown leadership can be viewed as a threat. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that a lot of people see leadership as a threat for that very reason, because they can tell you what to do. And in the past, if anybody else has broken your trust, or if you are broken from trust issues, unknown leadership is that much more of a threat. And it makes it even harder. And I say that's where that earned mindset comes in for a lot of people. They gotta, as they say, test the waters. But that's a whole nother element for me. That
All
to me
right.
deals with a lot. We see that in our scriptures a lot, even with Yeshua. Some people knew who he was and respected it, and some people questioned it and later respected it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference, I think. The other one is, I think, disrespect is so easy because of a lack of known consequences. Sometimes we don't know when we've been cut off. And since I'm going around being disrespectful to everybody, and I don't think I can, and I think I could do everything. I don't know all the consequences that'll come on me because of my disrespect. And I've seen that before, when people believe they have a relationship that they don't have because of their disrespect. and their lack of knowledge towards it is such a huge consequence because they have to come to terms with it eventually because everybody knows it. They're like, you need to apologize, or you need to go make that right, or whatever the case is. That's a huge one. And I'd say the last one is that if we disrespect is, I'd say, one of the most easiest, especially when we're dealing with the walk and we're dealing with brothers and we're dealing with want to encourage one another and all those things. Because if I can, if I will only respect you if I agree with you. And I believe that is such a dangerous, that is one of the most, wow, so many fellowships have been destroyed by that. So many brotherhoods have been destroyed by that. And I've seen it and experienced it in my own life that I can have relationship with people I don't agree with, and I can respect people I don't agree with. If that's something that's a struggle, then disrespect is crouching at the door.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, uh, especially if you guys was talking, my mind went. I think this is going to be longer than what I thought, because there's the way we want to least present us in that power up way. Well, how do you do this? How does that work out? Because I think
Mhm.
we all can understand that it's going to be different ways that people can be respected or whatever. And like I say, it's kind of riding on this. We're gonna have to get this right, or it's gonna be difficult in our relationship with the Father. It's gonna be difficult if we don't get this right, because the way that we treat one another, I think people don't understand this, but the way we treat one another is the same way we treat the Father. That is very, very important, right? So that'd be something to think about. I ain't saying that you have to agree with it. I'm saying I want you to think about that, because I know that that's the way that it is, right? And so we can't treat one another differently, right? The way that you love me is the way that you love the Father. You said, no, I love the Father so much more. No, the way that you love me is the way that you love the Father, right? Now, I'm not on the same level as him, but he desires that you show your love. This is what he desires. Show your love towards me, right? That's the way he wants that to go. That way we can see it and say, "I love you." That reason I can serve you. I think you was mentioning some of the our forefathers in our scriptures. They were servants, right? So the way I serve you is the way that I serve the Father, right? The way I serve you is the way I serve the Father. So we're gonna have to understand that, and that's gonna be critical, and that's something that we can go in. But I'm telling you, this part here is something when we have to be transformed in this, right? We're gonna have to start doing this, and grab a hold to this and understand that this is the desire of the Father. Just like when we read any other scriptures, we too busy trying to get different teachings and different doctrines. We don't even respect one another, right? So here's the thing. I know that can look different levels on different people, in that. So there's courtesy. We got all of those things, and that's the English word we're using about being disrespectful. But when we come to our scripture, we're talking about honor and shame. That's what we're talking about. So honor is respect, shame is disrespect, right? So a lot of times you that usually would keep us in line with keeping the commandments of Yah, because you didn't want to disrespect others. You won't do certain things because we know that can uh say dishonor someone else, or a group or a family or my family, my wife, my husband. So all of these things, and so like I say, we chosen the words disrespect and respect, but it is so much deeper. And so we won't get in too much more on tonight, but I said part two, but it's a lot more to get into this, because I was even discovering some things when I was looking at different things in that, in our scriptures. We have to know that we can't do that, We have to establish respect. So again, respect comes. No, even if I don't know you, isn't that awesome though? That's an awesome. This is, respect is very, very powerful in that, and I think you echoed that. People will really tell you about your children when they say, "Oh, they just were so respectful," right? So it was something in their life that they seen, something in their life that they seen. But we're gonna get ready to close this out and pick it up. And I know that it seems like it's kind of, I'm trying to go slower in this, and that we can get a picture because it is important. It is very, very important. And I figured that if we keep it up, not too long, then we have an opportunity to kind of look at this and everything again. When I'm looking on YouTube, it's still on, but it's a little behind here. Let me see. So I don't
Yes, sir.
know. Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna fall out in that, but I do have a copy. So when I stop it, it has Jedediah talking in the first time in that right now, right? So I don't know how that'll fold, but I keep an eye on it, and that YouTube is out of our control in that. So we got it here, and then we have to see in the future. Maybe we just have to record and then just upload. So maybe the live is maybe coming to a shorter end on that. We'll try to UStream and all that, huh? But if it still gets to to YouTube and does that, so that you stream don't have nothing to do with that part in that. But I'm grateful to the Most High. So that's just gonna make me dig in more though, because I feel like this might be important. Well, I know it is in that. So okay, any of you gentlemen have one last thing before we get ready to close? Just something short, encouragement and being respectful.
Oh no, sir.
Okay, all right. About you, my brother, is good. Okay, all right, all right. I want to thank you, brother, for taking out time to for us to get together every week. And I'm sure those that look at the videos, even those that might be still in the room somehow, hanging in there, hoping that it'll be right. But that you take out time to do this, and I know that takes away from family time sometimes. So thank you so very much for doing that, and the format could look a little different in the future. So we honor the Father, though. We honor the Father. So next time it'll be a part 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it may be, until I can get this in my heart and know that I need to be respectful. All right, gentlemen. Shalom, shalom.